ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतः पदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वंचाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So welcome all of you all to our weekly Gita class. So we were discussing chapter 2, text 23. Just a minute. Yeah. So the verse is like this: Nainam chindanti shastrani, nayanam dhati pavaka, na chainam kledyanti apo, na shoshayati maruta. Yeah. Just admitting people inside. Just 1 minute. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I am doing, Prabhu. No.
Okay. Take it. So the verse is like this: Nainam chindanti shastrani, nayanam dhati pavaka, na chainam kledyanti apo, na shoshayati maruta. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor can it be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. So Krishna is describing the various qualities of the soul. So Krishna is describing the various qualities of the soul. Here he's saying that no amount of weapons can destroy that soul. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport. Just 1 second. Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada explains that there are various kinds of weapons. In modern day science, we know only weapons made of fire, nuclear weapons. But in olden times, in our Vedic culture, the Kshatriyas knew various kinds of weapons. Weapons made of earth, water, fire, ether, etc. So Arjuna had different kinds of weapons. He had a weapon in which he could shoot an arrow and a tornado would be created. A cyclone, a hurricane would be created. So he had all these weapons. So we were discussing this point. I think we discussed this verse last time also. But just to recap, that we may be very proud of our modern advancement, but previously the advancement that the Kshatriyas of previous times had was much greater. The amount of technology that they had was much greater. Right? Just by chanting mantras, they would invoke different kinds of weapons. So Srila Prabhupada mentions that same point, that it appears that there were many kinds of weapons in the previous time. But here Krishna is saying that the individual soul cannot be destroyed by any amount of weapons. We were discussing this point last time also of Socrates. Socrates was a great philosopher and he had faith in this conception of spirit soul. He knew that he was a spirit soul. So when people came to poison Socrates, Socrates said that you all can't even see me. how can you all kill me? So here Krishna is saying that no amount of weapon, no amount of fire can actually destroy the soul. So here Prabhupada also makes a point how the Mayavadis, the Mayavadis, they have this understanding that the individual soul was cut from the Supreme Lord, was separated from the Supreme Lord, right? And it became prone to illusion. But here the example is the soul can never be cut, right? The soul can never be cut. So the philosophy of the Mayavadis that the soul was cut from the Supreme and came here is wrong, because the soul is eternally there along with the Supreme Lord. So what is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the soul? Both are there eternally, but the difference is individual soul Atma can come under the influence of Maya, of illusion, but that Supreme Lord cannot come under illusion. So Srila Prabhupada gives us example, just like a spark of a fire. That spark of a fire can be extinguished when it gets disconnected from that fire. So similarly, when we disconnect ourselves from that Supreme Lord, that spiritual energy, that connection with the Lord is lost, and it may appear that spirituality is lost. So that's how Srila Prabhupada explains this verse, that the individual soul is always there. Even at the destruction of the body, the soul cannot be destroyed. And we discussed this point also, the practical application. So Prabhupada says that Arjuna became liberated by receiving this knowledge from Krishna, but he never became one with Krishna. So Arjuna became liberated, but he didn't lose his identity. Why? Because as Krishna says in this verse, and throughout this section in the second chapter, we will see that Krishna keeps stressing on this point that the individuality of the soul is never lost. The soul is eternal in the past, in the present, and in the future. That means even after liberation, the individuality remains. So the idea of merging into Brahma Jyoti and losing our identity is not actually true. We were discussing the same point in today's Bhagavatam class. Just like if you have a green parrot enters into a green tree and it appears that it is lost because it appears that it is merging, both the green is merging. But if you go actually very close, you will see that even though it appears that it has lost its identity, the identity of the parrot always remains. It remains that individual. So even after liberation, the individuality of the soul always remains. So that's what Srila Prabhupada explains here in this verse. So the following points are being discussed here, that no amount of weapons can destroy the soul because the soul is spiritual and the individual soul are eternally parts and parcel of the Supreme Soul. It is not that the individual soul is cut from the Supreme. When the individual soul is liberated, it does not merge into the super soul. It does not lose its individuality. That means, what does it mean the soul is eternal? That means the soul is eternal even beyond liberation. The individuality of the soul always remains. So we will read text 24. Achedyoyam adayoyam akledyo shosha evacha nitya sarvagata stanor achaloyam sanatana. We'll read the word to word. Achedya, unbreakable. Ayam, this soul. Adaya, unable to be burned. Ayam, this soul. Akledya, insoluble. Ashoshya, not able to be dried. Eva, certainly. Cha, and Nitya, everlasting. Sarvagata, all pervading. Stanu, unchangeable. Achala, immovable. Ayam, this soul. Sanatana, eternally the same. So here Krishna is giving more qualities of the soul. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can never be burned nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, eternally the same. Just imagine, just in one verse, Krishna has given so many adjectives of the soul. The soul is unbreakable. You cannot cut it further, right? That it is the smallest size to which it can be cut. It cannot be further cut into a smaller size. That means when two living entities, a man and a woman, come together, it is not that their soul is distributed. No, the soul is unbreakable. It cannot be broken further. The soul is insoluble. You cannot put the soul in water or in some chemical and it will lose its identity. It will become a solvent. It doesn't happen. It is insoluble. It cannot be burnt, neither can it be dried. It is everlasting and present everywhere. That means the soul is there everywhere, sarvagata. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that even in the sun planet, the soul is there. So someone may say, how can soul exist in fire? But scientists have discovered something called fire bacteria. Bacteria that live also in fire. So the scientists have discovered now, but Krishna in the Gita is very clear right from the beginning that the soul is there everywhere. It is there in the earth, below the earth, in the sky. It is there in the water. It is there everywhere. It is unchangeable. The soul is through all the changes that the body goes through. We discussed now the 6 kind of changes the body goes through. The body is born, it stays for some time, right? There is byproducts it produces, then it dwindles, and finally it dies. And before that, there is growth also. The body is born, it grows, stays for some time, byproducts, dwindles, and then dies. But the soul doesn't undergo any of these changes. And the soul is immovable. What does immovable mean? That means the soul is actually supposed to be situated in its spiritual position. We were discussing in the Krishna book reading. Vasudev gives this example to Kansa. He gives this example: the moon, which is there in the sky, the reflection of the moon falls on water, right? And that reflection, because it is there on water, when the water shakes, because of wind or whatever, there is a turbulence in the water, it appears that the reflection of the moon is changing. But only the reflection of the moon changes, not the original moon. Why? Because the moon is in one place, immovable, it cannot be moved. But because the moon is identifying with this reflection, it appears to be changing. So similarly, as spirit soul, we are all supposed to be immovable. We are supposed to be fixed in that spiritual world. But because we are identifying with the changing body, we get affected. We come in anxiety. And then Krishna says the soul is eternally the same. There are no changes that happen to the soul. So we'll see what Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport. Yeah. So Prabhupada says here, once again, that the individual soul is eternally the atomic particle of the spirit whole. He remains the same atom without change. So we were discussing the same point, the previous verse also. The soul is always part and parcel of that supreme. Correct? We are all ansha. Jivere swarup hoi Krishtere nityadas. We are all servants of Krishna. Mamai vamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. So Krishna says the living entities are my part and parcel. And we will eternally remain part and parcel. We cannot become that supreme because we are eternally the same. What does eternally the same mean? Because we are infinitesimal. We discussed the size of the soul also, right? Infinitesimal. Because we are infinitesimal, we will always remain infinitesimal. It is not that after liberation we'll become infinite. Never possible. We will remain small and God will remain big. His position is not going to come to our level and our position is not going to go to his level. So again, Srila Prabhupada says, this verse refutes the Mayavad theory. Now, Srila Prabhupada was such a great devotee of Krishna that anytime he would get an opportunity to speak against Mayavad. What is Mayavad? Mayavad basically means the understanding that we are all God, right? We are now come under illusion. Once the illusion goes away, we will realize that we are God. So Prabhupada, as a proper bona fide Vaishnava Acharya, Prabhupada was always eager for the opportunity to speak against the Mayavadis. That's why the pranam mantra of Srila Prabhupada is Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Pashnata Deshatarine. So Srila Prabhupada came in this world to remove this impersonal understanding, Buddhist understanding from this world and to establish Vaishnava understanding. So Prabhupada says here, because Krishna is saying the spirit soul is insoluble. What does insoluble mean? That means the identity is not lost. It can never merge into Brahman because it is eternally an individual, eternally unchangeable and insoluble. So again, this verse, you see how Srila Prabhupada in practically every verse explains this point, how the individual soul always remains an individual soul, even after liberation. It can never become that supreme soul. It can never become Paramatma. Atma will remain Atma and Paramatma will remain Paramatma. So what about impersonal liberation? The atomic soul may prefer to remain as a spiritual spark in Brahma Jyoti. So people who want to merge into Brahma Jyoti, they can remain there, but their identity will remain. It is not lost. But those who are intelligent, hmm, who is intelligent? Those who are devotees of Krishna, they don't want to just merge into Brahma Jyoti. They want to go beyond Brahma Jyoti into the spiritual world and associate with that spiritual Lord, the Supreme Lord, and serve Him. That is why devotees are the most intelligent, because they are aiming for something beyond liberation also. Beyond Brahma Jyoti, they are aiming for entry into Vaikunta, where they can serve the Lord eternally. And again, Srila Prabhupada mentions, so Prabhupada in this purport explains these various qualities uh, that Krishna is mentioning here. And Prabhupada mentions about Sarvagata. Sarvagata means all pervading. And Prabhupada says that this is significant because living entities are present all over God's creation. When we go out to do book distribution, many times now, you get to go to different areas. Like I remember last year, when we shifted to Shorrow, when we constructed this base and we shifted here, and when COVID was increasing, we were doing food for life. We were going to different houses, poor people's houses, and distributing food. So one thing always surprises me when I go out for book distribution or to distribute something. You go to a remote place, far off place. Practically, sometimes there is not even a road there, but you will find houses there. One or two people are staying. Whenever I see this, I remember this point, Sarvagata. That means in any corner of this earth, you will find some people staying, some living entity staying. Similarly, in every corner of God's creation, whether it is the sun, the moon, or any other planet, living entities are always there. Whether the scientists agree or not, whether the scientists can see or not, living entities are there. Just like we are there in this earth, na? In earth we have earthly body. Our body is made of majorly earth. Those who are there in the water, the living entities that live in water, they have a watery body. So similarly, the living entities who stay in the sun planet, they have a fiery body. But body is there. Why? Because even when you have a fiery body, the soul cannot be burnt. We saw the previous verse, na? Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dhati pavaka, na chainam kledyanti apo, na shoshayati maruta. So even if there is a fiery body, the soul cannot be burnt. The soul can stay there still. So therefore, in every part of God's creation, the soul is there in water, in air, in land, or even in fire. And Prabhupada mentions that when you sterilize, if you have to sterilize something, what do? You heat it. But even after heating, you'll find some bacteria still present. Even 100 degrees, how much ever you heat it, some life is still present. That means, even the scientists agree to this, that means the soul is sarvagata everywhere. So scientists ultimately will come to the understanding of what Krishna is telling in the Gita only. But the only thing is they will waste a lot of time in research. So for us, if we just have faith in Krishna's words here, we can understand the importance of the soul, the qualities of the soul without doing much research. Because all the research is given by Krishna, that Supreme Lord who's made this entire world. He's given the entire framework here in Bhagavad Gita. We just need to understand this. Therefore, reading Gita, reading Bhagavatam is very important, because through this we will understand the entire science of God. We will understand the science of ourselves, the soul. We will understand how this material world works. Everything we will understand if we just read this scriptures well. So that was text 24. So we will go to text 25. Yeah. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmad evam viditvainam nanushochitum harhasi. Word to word. Avyakta, invincible. Ayam, this soul. Achintya, inconceivable. Ayam, this soul. Avikarya, unchangeable. Ayam, this soul. Uchyate is said. Tasmat, therefore. Evam, like this. Viditva, knowing it well. Enam, this soul. Na, do not. Anushochitam, to lament. Arhasi, you deserve. The translation is like this. It is said that the soul is invincible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. So Krishna is telling another three qualities of the soul: invincible, inconceivable, and immutable. So what does invincible mean? Srila Prabhupada writes here. Just 1 second. So soul is invincible means the soul is too small to be seen even by the most powerful microscope. Therefore, the soul is called invincible. That means with your eyes, with any material thing, you cannot see the soul, cannot understand the soul. Invincible. And the soul is inconceivable. What does inconceivable mean? That means even through your material logic, through your human experiments, you cannot understand the soul. Not possible. Inconceivable. Your intelligence will get short circuited. You will not be able to understand. So then how can we conceive the inconceivable soul? Prabhupada writes, the only source of understanding is Shruti, Vedic wisdom. We have to listen through the Vedic wisdom, the Gita and Bhagavad. Through this, we can understand and realize the soul. That inconceivable soul can be conceived if we read scriptures well. And Srila Prabhupada gives the example, just like if a child wants to know who the father is, I mean, the child cannot just depend on experiments. The child has to have faith in the mother and go to the mother and ask her who my father is, right? So similarly, that Supreme Father, the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, just 1 second. Yeah, that Supreme Lord is very difficult for us to conceive by your own understanding. Paramatma, Atma, all the spiritual concepts. How can material mind and intelligence understand? Therefore, topics that are beyond our intelligence, we need to take shelter of higher intelligence. And what is that higher intelligence? That higher intelligence is the scriptures. Scriptures are like the mother, right? They tell us the spiritual information, who is God, who we are, what this material world is. So therefore, we have to understand that which is beyond our understanding through superior authorities, right? Like now, we are all going through this COVID phase, right? I mean, how many of us have understanding of what this virus is, how it works? We really don't have understanding much. We depend on some greater authorities, someone who is more understanding this topic well. He has done his research well. You listen to him, right? It's normal. That's the way you function even in material life. So similarly in spiritual life also, that which is beyond our understanding, we need to take help from scriptures. Therefore, Krishna is calling the soul here as inconceivable. Inconceivable to our material intelligence and mind. And the third quality of the soul is immutable. What does immutable mean? Immutable means it cannot be changed. So this establishes the stability of the soul. So we saw that the body undergoes 6 changes. There is birth, there is growth, there is reproduction, then there is maintenance, then there is dwindling, and then finally there is death. 6 kind of changes matter undergoes. Anything material undergoes the 6 kind of changes. But the soul never undergoes all these changes. It is always immutable. And again, Srila Prabhupada makes this point. It also means that the soul can never become God. The soul will always remain atomic, and the Supreme Lord will always remain large, infinite. We will remain infinitesimal. he will remain infinite. The soul is immutable, it cannot be changed. So if you say, I can become God, that means what you're saying? That means you're saying that the infinitesimal soul is going to become infinite soul. Krishna clearly says here the soul is immutable, unchangeable. That means the size of the soul can never change. Even after liberation, our size will always remain the same. Therefore, what is true liberation? The scriptures explain. Jiver Swarup hoy Krishner Nitya Das. We are all eternally small fragments of Krishna and we are meant to serve Krishna. That's what Srila Prabhupada explains in text 25, the purport of text 25. So we will see text 26. Okay, so just a quick summary of 17 to 25. So sometimes it's good to do quick summaries. So we saw in text 12, Krishna says the soul is eternally an individual, the identity, right? We are always part and parcel of that supreme. In text 21, Krishna says the soul is unborn, it does not take birth. Then in text 18, Krishna says the soul is indestructible and eternal, therefore there is no death. So why is Krishna telling this to Arjuna? Because Krishna is telling Arjuna that anyway, Bhishma and Drona, whom you are thinking they will die in this war, their body will die, which is anyway going to die. The soul is eternal, therefore there is no death for the body. And what is the size of the soul? Prabhupada quoted Shvetashvara Upanishad that it is 1/10,000 the tip of the hair. In the 17th verse, the purport Srila Prabhupada mentions. And then the soul never undergoes any changes. The soul is steady, kutastha. It doesn't undergo any changes. The soul is immutable, like we discussed now. It does not change like matter and it can never become God. It cannot be the supreme. The soul can never be cut, burnt, dried, or wetted. Text 23. It is immutable, unchangeable, everlasting, and eternally the same. And what is the position of the soul? Where does the soul stay? In the region of the heart. This comes in the Mundaka Upanishad. And where is the soul present? Everywhere. Sarvagata. Living entities are present everywhere, even in sun and even in fire. How to perceive the soul? The soul is invincible and inconceivable. Through your naked eyes, through instruments, you can't understand the soul. So how can one perceive it? By reading Vedic scriptures. That is the only proof of the soul. By reading Vedic scriptures, by hearing what from the Vedas, from the Gita, from the Bhagavad. And the influence of the soul, we discussed this. The symptom of the soul is consciousness and it pervades the entire body. Just like sun is situated in one place, but the sun rays is spread all over the universe. Similarly, the soul is in one place in the region of the heart and the effect of the soul is present all over the body. Or like you take a medicine, right? You take a medicine and you put it in your stomach. You gulp it down, it goes to your stomach. But the effect of the medicine spreads all over the body. Isn't it? So if you have a pain in your hand, you don't put medicine inside the hand. What do? You put medicine in the mouth only. So someone may think pain is in my hand. Why am I eating through my mouth? Because the medicine is such that you put it in one part, the effect is spread all over the body. So similarly, the soul may be in one part of our body, in the region of the heart, but effect is spread all over. So that's like the summary of till here. Okay, so these are like the various qualities, more characteristics of the soul. As I told you all can do this as a homework also. You all can just go through these verses and keep writing down various qualities of the soul. You'll find it very fascinating. Unbreakable, insoluble, neither burned nor dried, everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, invincible, inconceivable, immutable. Right? So many adjectives Krishna is using here. Sarvagata, all this. Yeah. So now we'll go to text 26. Atha chainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mritam tatapi tvam mahabaho nainum shochitum arhasi. Word to word. Atha, if, however, cha also, enam, this soul, nityajatam, always born, nityam, forever, va, either, manyase, you so think, mritam, dead, tata api, still, tvam, you, mahabaho, O mighty armed one, no, never, enam, about the soul, sochitum, to lament, arhasi deserve. So the translation is like this. If, however, you think that the soul or the symptom of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty armed. So this is Krishna is taking the discussion to a different direction. So till now, Krishna was telling Arjuna that we are all spirit souls. So for the spirit soul, there is no death. Death is there only for the body. So Krishna is inspiring Arjuna that even if your relatives die here in this war, what is there to worry? The body is anyway going to die today or tomorrow or in 100 years. But the soul, there is no death. So you fight. You get up and fight Arjuna. Now Krishna is giving another argument, completely opposite argument. The argument of atheists. What is the argument of atheists? There is nothing as soul. Soul wall kuch nahi hota. Sharir hi sab kuch hai. Just like there was one rishi who was an atheist. His name was Charvak Muni. So his philosophy was, as long as you're living, eat nicely. So he would say, drink ghee. That means eat food with ghee. Even if you have to take loan, take it, but enjoy life. Why? Because who has seen next life? Basmi bhutasya dehasya kim punaragmano bhavet. Says after death, who has seen life? Who the scriptures speak about the soul and all these things. Who cares, yaar? This life is everything. Enjoy full scale. So you don't worry about all this. So this is the philosophy of atheists. So Krishna is quoting that philosophy and telling Arjuna. So basically, Krishna is trying to inspire Arjuna to fight. So Krishna is using different angles. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, if you think that the soul is not there and body is everything, or the cause of this body, whatever is the symptom of life, there is birth and there is death also. That means after death, after this body dissolves, there is nothing as soul. Still Krishna is telling Arjuna, still why you are lamenting? Nainam shochitum harasi, why you are lamenting? Just like Prabhupada explains in the purport, if some chemical is lost, like you have sanitizer, kabhi thoda sanitizer gir gaya, you don't start crying, अरे चला गया sanitizer, चला गया sanitizer. अरे it is dead matter, chemical ही है, चला गया फर्क क्या पड़ता है? So similarly, if someone thinks that this body is everything, spirit soul वगैरह कुछ नहीं होता, still what is the need for lamentation? कोई मर गया तो क्या सोचना है? चला गया, right? Body is dead, chemical साथ में आके शरीर बना था, that chemical is gone. So why lament? So in either case, Krishna is telling Arjuna, don't lament, continue your duty, right? So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport here. This verse indicates that philosophers existed even at the time when Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. Which philosophers? Philosophers like atheists or Buddhists, yeah, Lokayitikas, Vaibhasikas. So what is their understanding? These philosophy, their understanding is just like the modern scientists think. Like we have all studied in science. I remember in my 10th standard, 11th standard, 12th standard, the way evolution is taught to us. The way evolution is taught to us, how is it taught? That there was this big bang and then there is this primordial soup, a mixture of chemicals. And through some mixture of chemicals, some proteins come together and some DNA is formed and then life starts to come. Right? So this is scientists basically. So even in Vedic times, even at the time of Krishna, there were this group of people who believed that body is only everything. Physical combination of different chemicals at a certain stage produces life. They don't believe in spirit soul. So Krishna is saying that even Arjuna, even if that is your understanding, still why you are lamenting, right? No one laments for loss of a chemical. So why are you crying for Bhishma and Drona? If they are just chemicals standing here, so these chemicals will be destroyed. So don't lament for it. So that's what Krishna is saying here. So someone may say, is Krishna inspiring all of us to take this philosophy? No, Krishna is not inspiring us to take this philosophy, but Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna that even if this is your understanding, still there is no need to fear. Just like someone asked Srila Prabhupada, this is like the famous discussion with Srila Prabhupada, that you all are doing so much bhakti to Krishna, right? What if at the end of your life, 30 years, 40 years, you do Hare Krishna, all this bhakti to Krishna. At the end of your life, you come to know Krishna only doesn't exist. All this Atma and Paramatma, all this is bogus, right? ISKCON is bogus. Everything is bogus. Gita, Bhagavad is bogus. So your entire life is wasted, no? So Srila Prabhupada said, no, even if Krishna is not there, still we enjoyed life as devotees. है कि नहीं? अच्छा प्रसाद लेने को मिलता है. You get good quality prasad. Like most of the variety of food that I've had is after coming to ISKCON only. Before that, hardly anything, just simple food. But after coming to ISKCON, we have tasted so much variety of food. So in terms of food, we have eaten nicely. Before coming to ISKCON, I've hardly gone to many places. But after coming to ISKCON, practically every few months, one yatra to a different place. Seeing so many different places, right? So that also happened. Sightseeing has happened. And you get to meet so many people. Social interaction, itna hota hai. After you come to spiritual life, coming to ISKCON, you meet so many people, interact with them, learn from them. And you get to read so many things. You get to sing. You get to dance. You get to do so many things. So Srila Prabhupada said that even if there is no Krishna, we have enjoyed life, no problem. But if there is Krishna, what will happen to you? Aapka kya hoga? Right? So similarly, even if the soul doesn't exist, we understand this and we live life properly so that in the next life we don't have to suffer. But even if soul is not there, at least in this life we have lived properly, right? So therefore, Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna from a different perspective and trying to convince Arjuna that you should fight. Don't lament. So you'll find in this entire second chapter, this verse coming again and again. You will see here, Nainam shochitum ahrasi. Therefore, Arjuna, do not lament. See text 25, if you all have observed text 25, if you all have the Gita with you all. Nanu shochitam ahrasi. Therefore, you do not grieve for the body. So similarly, you will find this verse coming again and again. Nainam shochitum ahrasi. Don't lament. Don't lament. Don't lament. So Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna from different angles, don't get into depression. There is no need for lamentation. And then Krishna is using the word Mahabaho. Mahabaho means mighty armed Arjuna. To tell Arjuna that I hope at least you are not following the philosophy of these Buddhists and the Vaibhashikas and the atheists, right? At least you should be following the Vedic understanding. And in Vedic understanding, we believe in existence of the soul. So through a different angle, Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna to get up and fight and don't lament. So the atheistic argument is the soul is always born and it dies forever. That means life is born at the time of birth and at the time of death, life is destroyed. So these are the kind of philosophers, either the modern scientists or previously there were these philosophers called Lokayutikas, Vaibhashikas. They believe that symptom of life, it comes by the combination of matter. There is no spirit involved. So that is their philosophy. And then Krishna is saying, even from this point of view, there is no need for you to lament. Therefore, please get up and fight. So we will see text 27 the next time. Anyone has any questions? You all can raise your hands and we'll unmute you all.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, धन्यवाद प्रणाम। प्रभु जी, मेरा सवाल ये है कि जब आत्मा को कोई जला नहीं सकता है, आत्मा को कोई मतलब आत्मा मर नहीं सकता है या फिर आत्मा को कोई कुछ कर नहीं सकता है, तो जैसे कोई मर जाता है उसके बाद तो शरीर छोड़ने के बाद आत्मा ही रह जाता है ना, तो आत्मा को पनिशमेंट जैसे उसके कर्मों के हिसाब से कैसे मिल सकती है? मतलब जैसे यमलोक से कोई आता है, मतलब नरक की यंत्रणा जैसे मिलता है ना, तो आत्मा को कोई कैसे कुछ हर्ट कर सकता है? क्योंकि आत्मा तो शाश्वत है, उसको तो कोई कुछ कर नहीं सकता है ना। तो ये थोड़ा क्लैरिफाई कीजिए।
बहुत अच्छा प्रश्न है। So Mataji is asking if after death the body is burnt, and the soul can't experience pain, pleasure without the body. So if there is no body, how will the soul be punished in Yamlok? So the answer is that when someone goes to Yamlok, जब यमलोक जाते हैं व्यक्ति, उस समय और एक टेम्पररी शरीर मिलता है, सटल शरीर, और उसके माध्यम से जो आत्मा है कष्ट भुगतता है. So he is given a temporary body there.
ओके, जो मतलब 1 साल के लिए जो आत्मा सफर करता है तो उसको 1 साल के लिए एक दूसरा बॉडी भी मिलता है.
या
ओके,
मुझे एग्जैक्टली एक साल है कि कितना पीरियड है पता नहीं, दैट वी हैव टू चेक, बट जो भी वो पीरियड है तब तक उसको एक टेम्पररी शरीर मिलता है, जब तक उसको वापस एक भौतिक शरीर नहीं मिलता, जो भी उसके कर्म के अनुसार.
लेकिन प्रभु जी, जैसे कहा जाता है कि जैसे उसको पिंड दान दिया जाता है एक आत्मा को, तो उसके लिए जो भी कर्म किया जाता है, मतलब स्पिरिचुअल एक्टिविटीज उसके रिलेटिव्स हो गए जो भी करते हैं उनके लिए, तो उनको उनके कर्मों का वो जो पाप का क्रिया है वो कम हो जाता है, घट जाता है. तो उस हिसाब से फिर जजमेंट होता है कि उनको कौन सा बॉडी मिलेगी. लेकिन यहाँ पे एक चीज कहा जाता है कि हम इस जन्म में जो कर्म कर रहे हैं उस हिसाब से हम अगले जन्म के लिए अपनी शरीर को बना रहे हैं कि कौन सा जन्म हम लेंगे. फिर ये कैसे जज हो पाएगा कि अभी हम जो कर्म कर रहे हैं उसके बाद मरने के बाद कोई हमारे लिए स्पिरिचुअल एक्टिविटीज कर रहा है तो उसके हिसाब से हमारा पाप घटेगा, और ऐसे कि हम हरिनाम भी ले रहे हैं इस जन्म में तो हमारे पाप भी घट रहे हैं. तो ये थोड़ा कंफ्यूजिंग नहीं है कि कौन सा शरीर मिलेगा हमें अगले जन्म में.
वो हमेशा कंफ्यूजिंग ही रहेगा. क्योंकि ये जो जजमेंट है, यमराज का अलग कैलकुलेशन होता है, बहुत कुछ देख के डिसाइड करना पड़ता है. इसलिए कृष्ण गीता में बताते हैं, आगे जाके जब तीसरे अध्याय में आएंगे तो कृष्ण बोलते हैं गहना कर्मणो गति. ये कर्म का जो वर्किंग्स है, कैसा काम करता है ये कर्म, कौन सा कर्म का कब फल मिलता है, कैसा मिलता है, ये हमारा समझ के बाहर है. इसलिए हमको जो सही है वो करना है, और जो रिजल्ट है वो एनीवे हम चूज नहीं कर सकते. कैसा कर्म का कैलकुलेशन होता है, किस कर्म को ज्यादा मिलता है, किसको कम मिलता है, दैट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू अंडरस्टैंड.
प्रभु जी, और एक सवाल है कि जैसे भगवान गीता में बोल रहे हैं कि सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वं सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. तो सारे धर्म को त्याग करके मेरा ही शरण लो तो मैं तुम्हें सब पाप से मुक्त करूंगा. तो जब हम शरण लेते हैं कृष्ण के और सरेंडर होते हैं, उनका नाम लेते हैं, डेमीगॉड्स को पूजा करना छोड़ देते हैं, कृष्ण की सेवा, जो स्पेशली जो डिवोटीज हैं तो वो लोग तो हमेशा कृष्ण की सेवा में लगे रहते हैं, वो हमेशा भगवान के नाम लेते रहते हैं निरंतर. लेकिन उनके साथ जैसे उनको काफी जगह देखा गया है कि उनको भी काफी सीरियस डिजीज हुए हैं, उनकी मतलब तबीयत खराब रहती है. तो अभी ऐसा है कि प्रभु जी कि उनके पाप धुले नहीं है या फिर मतलब क्या है, ये समझ नहीं आ रहा, क्योंकि वो तो निरंतर हरि नाम कर रहे हैं ना, तो भगवान के पास सरेंडर होते ही उनका पाप धुल गया है. तो फिर ये सब चीजें क्यों तकलीफ भगवान उनको देते हैं?
क्या ये लास्ट टाइम भी हमने थोड़ा डिस्कस किया था कि भगवान क्यों देते हैं, क्योंकि भगवान को लगता है कि ये जो कष्ट है उससे भक्त वापस मेरे पास और जल्दी आएंगे. तो इसलिए भक्त का जो दृष्टिकोण है, जो भी कष्ट आता है वो नम्रता से हाँ अपना कर्म समझ के ही स्वीकार करता है, पर ये भी देखता है कि इसमें भगवान की कृपा है. जैसे परीक्षित को श्राप मिलता है कि 7 दिन में मृत्यु होगी, पर परीक्षित ने स्वीकार किया कि भगवान की कृपा है और बहुत जल्दी उन्होंने प्रगति कर लिया. तो पांडवों की जिंदगी में भी कष्ट आता है, पर वो कष्ट के समय कृष्ण का आश्रय लेते हैं. इसलिए भक्त मतलब कष्ट से डरते नहीं है, कृष्ण के आश्रय जो भी मदद करता है वो यूज करते हैं. इनफैक्ट कुंती महारानी प्रार्थना करती है कि भगवान और कष्ट दीजिए ताकि हम आपका स्मरण कर सके. पर एक चीज तो क्लियर है कि भक्तों की जिंदगी में जो कष्ट होता है वो कर्म के वजह से नहीं होता, कृष्ण के कृपा का ही कारण है, कृष्ण के कृपा से ही होता है कष्ट.
मतलब कृष्ण परीक्षा लेते हैं कभी कभी, है ना?
या
थैंक यू सो मच. हरे कृष्ण.
यस, राधा प्रेम माता जी.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, this Chatushloki Bhagavatam, Yeah, in that Lord Krishna gave the knowledge to Brahma. From Brahma, it came to Narada, Narada to Vyasdeva, from him Shukamuni and Sutta Goswami. Now, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I think 4th chapter, 1st sloka, he gave Bhagavad Gita to Vivaswan, and from Vivaswan to Manu, from Manu to Ikshvaku. Now,
Correct.
it means, now my question is, Chatushloki Bhagavatam contains Gita also, and there it means he gave that Bhagavad Gita first to Brahmaji.
Yeah. So basically, there could be many paramparas also. Right? It's not that there is just few paramparas. So the Gita that speaks about, that is another disciplic succession that is coming through saintly kings. So because Arjuna is a king, Krishna is giving that parampara, describing that parampara to Arjuna. Right? So, so that is another parampara. So what the Bhagavatam describes is another parampara. So there could be many such paramparas which is coming from Krishna.
But it means this Ramayana, Mahabharata, everything was included, even Krishna's pastime, everything included, all things are included in Chatushloki Bhagavatam.
Chatushloki Bhagavatam speaks 4 verses in which basically Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan, Gyan is given in these 4 verses.
Okay.
So it's like just a very concise thing, but it's not expanded fully into Leelas and everything. It's more like the philosophy that is given.
Okay.
Just like you have Chatushloki Gita. Chatushloki Gita also gives this Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan only. Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo, Madchitta, Madgata, Prana, Bodhayanta Parasparam. So basically that's the essence, the framework that is given. And then Shukadeva Goswami, Brahmaji expanded into Krishna's Leelas.
But that time also Ramayana, Mahabharata and all these Krishna's pastimes, everything was included in that.
Included, yeah.
Okay.
So you see, these pastimes keep happening in a cycle, na?
You
know, it keeps happening. So if it is Satya Yuga, in the previous Yuga, Krishna has come. In the previous Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and then Krishna, these avatars keep happening regularly, na? So that's why we are discussing 7th chapter of Bhagavatam, 2nd canto. You will see that Brahmaji is telling Narada about future Leelas of Krishna. So that means at that point, when Brahma and Narada are conversing, Krishna's advent didn't come. So in future, what is going to happen, that also is explaining. So future tense.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question anyone else has? Okay. So thank you very much. So we'll end for today. We'll continue from where we stopped the next week. Hare Krishna.